O ye, all ye that walk in Willowwood, that walk with hollow faces burning white, what fathom depth of soul-struck widowhood, what longer hours, one lifelong night. Ere ye again, who so in vain have wooed, your last hope lost, who so in vain invite your lips to that their unforgotten food. Ere ye again shall see the light. That's my Dante Rossetti. And I only discovered that poem today. And yesterday I discovered the panel painted by Margaret MacDonald Macintosh, who was Rennie Macintosh's wife. I was in Glasgow visiting my son, who was back briefly from China, visiting family and friends. And so we managed to catch up in Glasgow for a short while. And then we met in Kelvingrove Museum, which is where we often met over the years when I was visiting him in Glasgow. It was a favorite place right from the time it reopened. Goodness, about over 20 years ago now, I think. And they acquired the panel, which used to be in the Willow tea rooms, which were ladies only tea rooms. And this panel represents the 3 stages of women, you know, and it is, the panel itself is named after the first line of that poem. And I bought this scarf in honor of that, which depicts part of the panel. And the panel is called "O ye, all ye that walk in Willowwood." And I thought, what a beautiful reminder of this work that we're doing on the way of the willow, in the way of the willow, of that that death and rebirth. That's what I feel from that poem. It's that the mourning of that which has been lost, but then there is this rebirth, and that's a lot of what we're working with. And I just love how these coincidences or synchronicities weave. So though I'm addressing those who are on my Way of the Willow course, which I'm starting to feel is more than just a course, I will be making this public as well. And look at the beautiful sunshine that's come out just as I started preparing to record. And you know, we've had quite heavy rain all morning and yesterday, and it's just gorgeous that the sun has come out, the light has returned. Okay, just like in that poem, the light returns. And we're also just entering, this is why my son was visiting, because it's their, you know, they have set holidays for the Chinese New Year. So he was able to use that time to come and visit the family and catch up with his friends, and the ones, you know, who are unable to visit him in China. So yeah, what a beautiful weave that created. And it really got me to reflect on this croft and the willow, and why I've always associated this croft with the willow. And I named this croft the Willow Branch. And I've been playing with changing that name. So there's this kind of in between, because Grandmother Willow, who is at the heart of the croft, you know, spoke to me once and said, I'm not going to be here forever. But of course, now I understand that differently. I understand that because of the way of the willow, she will always be present in the willows as they that grow from her origin. And she herself was a branch. She'd been struck by lightning. This is before I acquired the croft, and so was really half a tree, and she'd continued to grow. So that's one of the reasons I called her the willow branch. And also she's at the heart. And this is really important. I was very deeply within my Buddhist practice at that time. And there's various chants or mantras that are part of that practice. And I remember reading one and just the significance of the willow branch and the heart. So in one of the chants, he talks about Avalokiteshvara using her holy willow branch to spread the nectar of compassion. So, which is about, again, about the heart of compassion, and the importance of remaining in that place. So, you know, the willow may grow and evolve, but that heart of who she is and her origins still remain. She is what the willow that is there is the continuation of the original willow. So I'm going to read just the verse, okay, which really then connected me with that insight. Okay, so I'm going to do it a little formally because, you know, this is sacred texts. This is from the Chanting from the Heart, which is the practice book of the Thich Nhat Hanh community. He undertook translating a lot of the Buddhist texts into English, and then perhaps into other languages, because he felt, I think, as a novice monk, you know, he's chanting in ancient Chinese and Sanskrit and not really understanding what a lot of that meant. And though it's important to be able to use these sacred languages because of their frequencies, it's also important for us to understand what we're talking about, what we're saying, what we're chanting. And so he felt that was a really important part of his mission to translate much of it. And I know he often felt he hadn't completed it in many ways, but he's left so much. And this is one of them. And the other thing as well that he often did is there was that as a community they would review the texts and add or adjust the wording so that you'd never get caught into that you're just repeating it, because if there was a slightly different phrasing, you would start to see something different within that. So it's kind of keeping us on our toes in that. So I'm just going to read the first verse, and I'll explain a little bit more. So it's called Awakening the Source of Love. Okay. So I'm going to invite the bell before the verse and after the verse. We bow respectfully to Avalokiteshvara, to your great vow always to be there for all beings. Your capacity to look deeply at the world with compassionate eyes, listen deeply to understand and to relieve suffering. And with your holy willow branch, to sprinkle the nectar of immortality, cleansing my mind from all impurities. I vow to take refuge in you with all my heart. Respectfully, I offer you my vow in thousands of words. So Avalokiteshvara is the Bodhisattva of compassion. A bodhisattva is someone who achieved enlightenment while in human form. And this also speaks to the futility of words, right? But, you know, that spreading of that nectar, of that compassion, is something that is felt and something that is always there, that we can always connect with. And that's what I was talking about with that continuation. And like willow is a continuation just by her very nature, you know, that strong rooting power that I've spoken about before, and the importance of that. And it does go through those verses, you know, take me to the war zones is one of the lines. And it's being able to stay within that heart of compassion, even amidst suffering, great suffering, and to be able to stay in that place. So as I was reflecting on this on my drive, and having, you know, found this more weaving of the willow and how that's unfolded over nearly 20 years since I've had the land here, or been guardian of the land here, and, you know, connected with that beautiful willow that's been so central to the croft and to my life really ever since. I started to realize, you know, there's this single tree, right? There's this one tree, this one branch that I spoke about. And yet that branch becomes a wood. It becomes many. And how the woodland evolves. So this sort of this spreading, this rippling effect of the one becomes many. It becomes a woodland. And you may remember, if you've been following some of the things I've been sharing, that I created a path through some of the willows, the Willowwood that was here. So all these beautiful things that are happening suddenly came together in this one moment. So I really felt called to share this, because I feel the significance of the willow, of compassion, of being rooted in the heart, is something that I feel is a new aspect to this one. I feel that this way of the willow is becoming more of a mystery school than an apprenticeship or a course or whatever else it might be. So I'm feeling very excited about it, but also that sense of not being alone, that one tree, that one branch, or the one branch that becomes the tree that becomes a wood. So I'm also considering, oh, maybe I should change the name to the Willowwood. But we will see. I will sit with that. Sending you much love from my heart, from the willow at the heart of the heart to yours.